Dr. Houston, do you know how much money came to postgraduate medical education at the University of Toronto, specifically from Saudi Arabian sources last year?
Well, if we say that Saudi Arabia represents approximately 40% of the learners, and we got $45 million, then I would say it would be $18 million.
Well done. Fast math. Thank you. Does the University of Toronto receive, and particularly the Temerity School of Medicine, receive other sources of funding from Saudi Arabia other than that, like, let's say in terms of donations or other partnership, let's say not directly associated with the visa trainees?
Not to the best of my knowledge.
Okay. You mentioned this episode in 2018. I was on a medical faculty at that time. I remember it very well. Just to say it into the record again, Chrystia Freeland was then the Foreign Affairs Minister. She criticized the Saudi government. They were putting women in prison because they had the temerity to advocate for their right to drive. And from my recollections, medical faculties lobbied the Foreign Global Affairs Canada and Chrystia Freeland, who happens to be the Member of Parliament, I believe, for most of the University of Toronto Medical School, to temper her criticism, let's say. Are you aware that officials at the University of Toronto lobbied Global Affairs Canada or the Minister of Foreign Affairs to temper her criticism of Saudi Arabia in order to protect this funding?
I am not aware of that occurring.
Okay. We've spoken a lot about the difference between, let's say, funding and capacity. It seems to me pretty obvious that if the University of Toronto currently has the capacity to train Saudis, but the funding is coming from Saudi Arabia, if some other source were to provide that funding and Saudi Arabians were, or the government of Saudi Arabia was not given those residency spots, like if that funding was restored from some other source, the University of Toronto could, for instance, train Canadian IMGs who want to come back home?
We have the capacity at this time and have put forward to the provincial government a further expansion plan for our residency program. So the short answer is yes, we could further expand the number of residents that we graduate in any given year.
And then an association who represents these Canadian graduates from Ireland, or Irish, Australian, UK, American, Caribbean schools said that often these folks will drum up their own funding, but this funding is not accepted by faculties of medicine. Does your faculty have a policy about this? So if I have an Irish medical degree and my hometown of St. Thomas, Ontario says they will fund my residency, would you accept those funds the way you accept funds from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia?
That is not allowed by the provincial government. The provincial government, for both the MD program and the postgraduate medical education programs, sets the total number of domestic spots available.
I see. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is a brutally repressive dictatorship. So shortly after this episode in 2018, they lured a Washington Post journalist into their Turkish consulate. They dismembered him with a bone saw. This repression continues to this day. They executed somebody for tweets critical of the government this past summer. Do you have any concern that the Temerity medical faculty is compromised by receiving money from this sort of source? Do you think that the faculty, for instance, is able to condemn these practices in Saudi Arabia, or would that risk their funding?
It is not my role. I do not take a role in the political arena. I do take a role in ensuring that we support the education of these trainees that come to us.
I'm going to interrupt you for a second there. So the Temerity Faculty of Medicine does not have a view as to whether women should be allowed to drive?
That may be off the topic about their view on whether women should be allowed to drive.
Well, I think it's directly on topic.
Go ahead. You have 1 minute left.
The Temerity Faculty of Medicine would not put forward a view on that.
Okay. So Women's College Hospital is part of the Temerity Faculty of Medicine? Like, it doesn't view itself as a feminist institution that promotes equal rights for women both in Canada and abroad?
Women's College is one of the TASN hospitals.
And it doesn't take a view about women's rights globally?
I have not recently reviewed any of their whatever they have put out about
Okay, I have one last question. We received an email from a member of the University of Toronto Medical Faculty
16 seconds.
Who wishes to remain anonymous because of fear of reprisals from the administration. He says the impression of rank and file faculty is that the Saudi money is used to prop up the growing administrative structure and roles at the faculty rather than improving the training quality and experience of Canadian learners. Is there a reason you can think of why he would want to remain anonymous for fear of reprisal?
The shortest answer possible.
I cannot.
Dr. Houston, through the chair, the University of Toronto's mission statement reads, quote, "The University of Toronto is dedicated to fostering an academic community in which the learning and scholarship of every member may flourish, with vigilant protection for individual human rights and a resolute commitment to the principles of equal opportunity, equity, and justice." Do you think the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia shares these values?
Comment on that.
I'm sorry?
I haven't looked at the mission statement of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
No, that's your university mission statement.
I
that just read.
understand that.
Yeah.
I'm very supportive of our mission statement.
Okay.
And our mission, as part of our mission, we work with multiple partners around the globe.
Okay. Will you condemn the human rights abuses committed by the countries you've received funding from? Yes or no?
I choose not to respond.
All right. I will take that answer. Do you
I
personally...
don't see that that is something that I need to answer to.
I want you to know that you've really given us great answers. We've had a whole bunch of witnesses, and I really appreciate the information you've been giving us. What I am trying to determine is, if a Saudi Arabian person can take that spot, what does it take for us to get an IMG in that same spot? Is it $100,000?
No, it's provincial funding.
I realize that. But
So it's
when
not
we
the
see this budget,
$100,000?
when we see this budget that has just been set out, how many extra spots are we going to create across Canada? And I'm thinking, well, 97 million could possibly create 1,000 more medical special graduates if we use the money correctly. So some of my questions are trying to get to that answer. Are we using this money correctly? And I'll ask you this question. You'd mentioned that you have all these spots. Now, I'm going to call the Saudi ones extras, and we're going to call the ones that you currently have medical students for as domestic spots.
Correct. So I call them domestic and supernumerary.
How can we increase those domestic spots? What type of dollar figure do we need to have? And I understand you want it to be provincial, but if you could just indicate to me a dollar figure per year per student for a resident on a 5-year program, not family medicine, a specialist. Is it 100,000? Is it 50,000? Is there a number?
Yes, there is a number. So let's start with medical school, because you can't have a resident unless you put a student through medical school. So it costs approximately $80,000 a year to put a medical student through the MD program per year, one student, 1 year, at the University of Toronto. And the reason why the tuition for the postgraduate medical education programs is $100,000 for the Middle Eastern countries is because that's approximately the cost to support that residency position.
Thank you. Now, other universities that I have spoken with have received donations. You'd indicated that the University of Toronto has not received any donations towards any expansions or anything from the Saudi government, just $100,000 per student. There's been no extra kindness.
I said to the best of my knowledge, I was not aware of any other donations from the Saudis to the Temerity Faculty of Medicine. And these are not donations. This is tuition that they pay.
Thank you. These IMGs that we have in Ireland, I feel really bad for. Now, I'm from Alberta. We've got 44 students that want to come back to Alberta and do the CARMS match. They're not having any success. They're finding difficulty. The Alberta government is now looking at creating spaces, and I guess they will associate a number to increase those IMGs. What would it take for
47 seconds?
your university to increase spots?
It would take first the province saying that they would support the expansion, and then the funding from the province for those spots.
Thank you.
30 seconds?
Do you have any concerns about the Canadian university's dependence on the visa trainees from Saudi Arabia? a theocratic monarchy alleged to have committed human rights violations, including state-sanctioned murders, oppression of women, minorities, and curbing freedoms daily.
University of
seconds.
Toronto trains those physicians to take the values of the Canadian healthcare system and our university back to improve their healthcare system.